of you play for me. Others have seen me on the other side of the field. I'm in my first year with Valor Soccer. My name's Keith Blyer, and I'm the Assistant Director of Coaching. And one of my inspirations, or one of my motivation, is to make sure that everybody in this club pursues the next level of soccer. And establishing this college placement program is important to me. It should be important to you. We had our first webinar back in August, where we just loaded you up with all kinds of good information about the various levels and everything. Tonight, you get a chance to talk to some college coaches. Okay, so I always want to start these presentations by saying to every single player that is a competitive Valor player, you can move on to the next level. You can play college soccer, whether it's at the NCAA level, an NAIA program, a junior college, and even within those, there are so many opportunities. But it takes a lot of work on your part. You can't just sit there and wait for Willy Wonka's magic ticket, have somebody tap you on the shoulder and say, here's your Division I full ride to your dream school. It doesn't happen that way. You've got to obviously keep playing soccer. I know we've been limited, and that's been really frustrating. But I think you need to be open-minded about where you end up playing and at what level. I'll tell you that where I ended up playing, I had never heard of the school until I think April of my senior year. And it worked out pretty well for me at Santa Clara University. Go Broncos. I know one person on the call who's more of a Portland Pilots fan, but we'll get to that in a second. You got to be proactive. You have to take the necessary steps. Informing yourself is the first part of it, and that's why you're on this call. So we got a panel of college coaches that are about to join us. We're going to talk about the current impact of this lovely pandemic on college recruiting. It has had an effect. We'll go quickly through the checklist for you. If you're a freshman, a sophomore, junior, senior, I just want to keep you on track. I'd love to be doing this in person, by the way, and watching you check those boxes as we go down, or work with you a little bit on some of these things. Obviously, we can't do that. We want to introduce a new highlight video service that you might want to take advantage of. There are some ID camps out there, not many, but we'll share those with you. And then I want to show you what is available to you on the club website regarding our college placement program. There are a lot of resources there that we've built over the last few months, and then what we do for you next. I'll stick around and answer any questions after, of course, you ask the coaches questions. All right, so it's time to meet them. First, just kind of the facts of who's joining us, and then I'll stop sharing my screen, and their faces will pop up, hopefully, if my internet is still working, and theirs is too. We have Michelle Voilant, who is the head coach at Whitman in Walla Walla. We have Kim Calkins, who is also a head coach at the Division III level at the University of Puget Sound down in Tacoma. Rob Walker is with us. He is the head men's coach at St. Martin's University, which is a D2 school in the GNAC, and representing the community college system. Happy to have Ozzie Urquhart with us. He's with community college. Okay. So thanks to those coaches for joining us. And let's see if I can. All right. Okay. Can you guys see me now? All right. So quickly, guys. First, we'll start with Rob. Just give us a minute or so on your background in soccer, what St. Martin's is, and just kind of how you got into the position you're in.
This is my 15th year at St. Martin's. I started both a men's and women's program here from scratch in 2006. At the time, I was working down in Alabama. I was a director of coaching at a club there, and I decided I wanted to come home and take care of family. So I came up and started our program there. I've been even when I was out of state, I still try to keep my ties with Washington. And I've had just great experiences as a staff coach, clinician, worked with the Olympic teams, and done some other really fun stuff. So, and looking across the spectrum here, I remember when a lot of us here were younger and played. So that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, to all of you here at the club, thanks for having me on, and I'll do my best to give you whatever insights I can.
Cool. Thank you, Rob. And now just make sure you unmute yourself, coaches. Let's go to Kim. She's the head coach at UPS. Kim, it's your first 12 months on the job there officially, right?
Yep. This last year was our first season with me and the coach in the program. I helped out a few years ago under the old coach, and spent most of my last decade with the youth side, and worked with the Rain Academy for a couple of years, and before that, a lot of different clubs, and also was a technical director in Washington Youth Soccer for a while as well, and also did the Sounders women.
Yeah. So straight from the club game, she knows exactly what our players are going through and what we are. Okay, Michelle Voilant, the head coach, also a new appointment at Whitman. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yes, I started at Whitman College on March 1st. And, I had 2 weeks to meet my players before spring break, and basically the pandemic hit, and been dealing with that. So been in the lockdown. So, I have yet to have a training with my team. We've done everything virtually because we were online. But I'm excited. We're getting everyone back starting January 2nd, and looking forward to our upcoming season, which will be this fall, this February. So before the appointment here, I spent the majority of my time at Oregon State. I was 12 years at Oregon State, worked up to associate head coach, worked with our goalkeepers, had a quick run one season over at Western Oregon, which is D2, before getting this head coaching position. So I'm very excited to be at Whitman College. Again, I have a lot of ties from Washington, and Oregon. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys also a lot of experience with Division 1, 2, and 3. So I'm looking forward to this evening. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. You're still undefeated at Whitman. You have yet to lose a match. Amazing. Great start. Ozzy, talk to me about Edmonds Community College and your background in soccer. You're coaching club as well at right now.
Yeah. So thank you, Coach Kit, for first of all for having me. Welcome, everyone. My name is Coach Ozzy, and I've been coaching the Edmonds Community College program for the last, I would say, 5 years. And this is going to be my 6th season. And yes, Coach Keith, I've been also coaching club soccer, Eastside FC, last 5 years. And yeah, so I myself used to play this community college level. I am a former Bellevue College player. I moved to the States in 2004, and that's my first home. I started playing for Bellevue College and played 2 years. And I have a former background as an academy player, and I played professionally in Turkey as well. And then after I came in here, I loved the level, I loved the competition, and I became an assistant coach for Bellevue College. And after that, I moved to Hawaii and studied MBA there, and I coached for Chaminade University, Division II school. And and I came back to Washington again in 2013, and since then I've been coaching club and coached different clubs like Highline Premier and Seattle United, and then I get back to my position at Edmonds 5 years ago, and it's been great. I love it. We have a great diverse program going on, and I love it. So yeah.
From Maui to Edmonds, of course. No, we're glad you're up here, Ozzy.
Thank you.
A number of our players who are maybe hustling back from training or something. Just the obvious questions, and we'll just start. We'll kind of go back around in the same order we went. If anybody wants to jump in, please do so. So, Rob, everybody wants to catch the eye of a college coach, and especially if you're a junior or a senior in high school. what are the best ways from your, wealth of experience, the most effective ways for a player to draw the right kind of attention from a college coach and maybe get an opportunity at the next level?
Well, I'm sorry, because coming in here. Can you hear me all right?
Can hear you just fine.
Oh, okay. It's gone now. All right. I think that if we were having this discussion a year ago, I'd give you a different answer than the answer I'm going to give you now, because we are treading water from a recruitment side, and that's on both the player side and the coaching side at our level for sure. And I think that right now the kids that I'm having the best results from are the ones that are proactive and are doing a lot of the old things, but are following up and not just waiting for that contact back, because there are no events to go to for us. There are no, and so it's just hard to see players play. So I think you just got to go to the fundamentals. And if you have a checklist, Keith, of things your kids are supposed to be doing, they need to be doing them more than once, and they need to be, finding new ways to freshen up. So since you can have inter-squad games right now, if you can have a 9v9 video done, that would be an excellent step right now. Normally I would never send practice video, but that's all we have. And that's all there is. And there are all kinds of issues with COVID and kids getting extra years of eligibility, and now we've got players stacked up on a roster that we thought would be leaving this year or next year. So it's going to be really important for youth players to broaden their search. Probably be very realistic about the targets that they are, and make sure you put the graphic up of the level, NCAA levels, NAI, community college. If kids are really wanting to play, then there's probably more than one way to achieve their goals, and they need to basically broaden their umbrella, because many of the places where it would have been easier to get recruited, maybe a little bit difficult now, just because of the lack of movement of players on the outgoing side for the next year or two.
Yeah. It's a totally different world right now, but I think the message is keep an open mind and knock on the door maybe more than once. I'm sure the other coaches would agree with you. When we talk about, what makes a player stand out, in addition to being proactive, Kim and Michelle on this one, what kind of things do you prioritize? What are you looking for when you try to thin that really long list and consider some the serious prospects? What kind of kids stand out to you?
Like Rob said, I think right now, probably during a regular time period, it might be a little bit different. But I think at the end of the day, what's going to be the same is just finding a fit. Is it a fit for us with the player? Is it a fit for the player with us? And that's a good match. It's not always going to be that way. It's not going to be a player that we think's a great fit is going to think we are, and vice versa. You might think the school has everything you want and need, but maybe it's just not. At the end of the day, once you go on campus or something, it's not a right fit. So, that's still going to be a key component. I think right now during this time, players that are genuinely interested in our school, specifically with Michelle and I, probably Ozzy as well. And speaking of, at least for Whitman and for UPS with Division III, we can be in contact with players, and we can be having conversations. We can talk to you about our school. We can, you can set up times to meet with our players. And so we still have an opportunity during all of this to really get to know the players. So if you haven't looked or considered Division III schools, you can actually get a real feel for yourself versus maybe some of the other divisions where there's been longer restrictions for recruitment. So I would encourage players to do that. That's something that helps us learn to get to know you better. But yeah, I think a genuine interest in the school is a good starting point. And if you do cast a wide net and you send it to a bunch of schools, or you reach out and send a video or a message, and you do hear back from somebody, make sure you actually look up the school and have a little bit of knowledge beforehand. If for some reason you have an awkward conversation or something with a coach, or you do that, they all know, and you can even say, hey, you're my first conversation I've ever had. And, and they're going to help you through that and help you sort through that. So that would be one of the key things I think right now is just a genuine interest in the school will help them and want to know the program and doing your homework a little bit that way. Christmas break's probably a good time to look into some of those things if they haven't already.
Oh, I think they've got some time on their hands for sure, Kim. I appreciate that. Michelle, anything you want to add? I know that there are so many different levels at which to play, and casting that wide net is great. But what specifically are you looking for from kids in terms of how they contact you, and then maybe the kind of person or what their grades are, those kind of things?
Yeah. So when you're looking, first of all, you want to have the best grades that you can have, right? I mean, anywhere you go, whatever division it is, the better your grades are, the more opportunity you're going to have to get into a school. There's financial support, those types of things. Now, Division III is different in that we do not have athletic scholarships, but we do have what are called Merit Aid Awards. So what our schools are, these are small liberal arts schools that are very high academic minded. So it's pretty challenging to get in. So the first checklist when we're looking at players is the GPA. Yeah. So, if your GPA is below a 3.5, it's going to be difficult to get you into the school. The other thing to consider with these types of schools is the rigor, the types of courses that you're taking. So, we do look at for AP courses and honors courses. They're wonderful academic institutions, and it's definitely something if you're looking for that environment, that academic challenge, you're looking to, and as well as have other experiences. That's where D3 is great. You can still play a really high level of soccer. The Northwest Conference is super competitive. It's a great level of soccer. Division III soccer is not rec soccer. It's competitive soccer. It's an opportunity, though, in a different world to still have competitive soccer, but also explore other academic areas, to travel abroad and do some different things that you may not be able to do at Division I or Division III. So what we're looking for in terms of recruiting, that GPA and that rigor is important. Now, if you're a junior, that's when we really start looking at that GPA, right? Like, so how are you doing? We're going to identify players as freshmen and sophomores. That's important. You guys, it's okay for you to get online, go to the questionnaires, write coaches. We want to hear about you, learn about our school. If we find that, what I found is, again, we haven't been to any events, but when players are really interested in the schools, especially in Whitman's, a very unique place. That's a great starting ground, because I can talk a lot about the school. I mean, we're, located in a beautiful part of Washington with the mountains and outdoors and a great college town. So we can have those, we can have that conversation, but it really starts with you guys showing interest in looking at these schools. And one thing you can do is look at the map. Is there a place, part of the country you just, you don't want to go to, or you do want to go to? Start exploring. So even as freshmen, getting out there and starting to kind of think about those things is important, and you have time. So, definitely make that contact, start making that contact, and, we can have conversations with you guys. I've had plenty of Zoom conversations. I've done FaceTime, walk tours around campus and in town. So because people aren't able to visit. And so, it's really about that interest, making those connections and seeing that you have the academic piece, or at least understand what that academic piece is, so you can make those adjustments moving forward.
Yeah. Voice. Look at a map, know where the school is. These blanket emails that kids tend to send out, at least to start their process, I think is great. But if you've got the mascot wrong and you're calling Coach Voilant Coach Calkins and vice versa, you do want to make the best possible first impression you can make, and target schools more with each passing year, I think too. Before we get to Ozzy, and I want to ask Ozzy how the community college experience is different, maybe from the 4-year experience. Before we get to Ozzy, anybody who's on the call now and wants to submit a question, obviously, or something specific, there's a little function, a little activities button in the upper right. It's like a bunch of shapes, and if I go ahead and turn on questions, you should be able to submit some questions. Either that or put it in the chat bar, but we'll look for it. So, Ozzy, talk to me about community college soccer. How does it differ in terms of the player that you're looking for? Maybe not too much. And what's the experience like, the 2-year experience?
Yeah, thank you, Coach. So 2-year experience, pretty much the type of recruits we are looking for are the players who would like to prepare for 4 years potentially. Every year we send players to other 4-year, all levels of 4-year colleges. So we are appealing to those players who want to stay in town in Washington State, be close, and tuition wise, more affordable options to get their basic classes, keep on building their grades. Meanwhile, getting used to, in the question mark you mentioned, how is that transitioning between the high school and club soccer to playing college, which is very different in terms of like more of players take responsibility of being self-supported, and that's pretty much a different thing here. A community college, what community college offers is that making that transition a little bit slower, but making sure that it's building in terms of grades, in terms of experience. And that's what we change in Edmonds too. Like I mentioned, I've been in that program in the last 5 years, and in the beginning we've been sending players to the next level, but we had some challenges. Then we changed it. Now the goal is to more go in there and making a difference. And so it's very appealing. It's a good environment. It's comparable to D3 level of college soccer in terms of we have a great division with a great league going on called NWAC. So we have all Washington State community colleges and some from Idaho and some from Oregon. So yeah, that's what we got to offer.
I've seen some NWAC matches, and it's a very good standard of soccer. Obviously, Michelle mentions like Whitman is a pretty academically challenging school, or they don't admit everybody. You have a 3.5 or higher, you're good. If not, you're gonna have trouble. Let's be realistic. We've got kids on the call who maybe don't have the 3.5 GPA. What are the minimum requirements for somebody to try to get into a 2-year school?
Yeah, same with us. We obviously, if a student is struggling with the grades, it's a conversation. We recruit players who will make that jump because, like we said, they need to have build those grades when they apply for 4-year universities, and that's the goal, to prepare them for life. So that's kind of like where players build that. Then that's the one of the assurance that we check during the recruitment phase, whether that player, student athlete, will make that jump and intend to do so. It doesn't have to be making a choice of this career or that. They can make their own decision what path they want to go, because these things can change. That's we definitely we're looking for. And our overall GPA last year 5. We've been raising the bar. That's one of the things we are working on in our program, to keep on raising the bar as a team and as individuals as well. So yeah, the community college provide that.
Yeah. What I'd like, just maybe everybody will kind of go in order, and then we'll see if there are any questions outside of mine. In regards to what the experience is like in playing college soccer, I know that some of the players that I'm currently coaching, they're not entirely decided on whether or not they want to do it, because they're a little bit intimidated by it. They think that it might be too much, or that it will take over their lives, or they'll struggle to make both the academics and the soccer work at the same time. What kind of commitment and what advice would you give to players in our club who want to play college soccer but are they just want to know more about what the experience is going to be like day in and day out? Rob, why don't we start with you?
It's a variable kind of thing at at D2, depending on the phase of the year we're in, there are certain allotted number of required hours that we can place into our program. So typically in the fall, it's a 20 hour a week activity calendar. Games are always 3 hours. We at St. Martin's and other schools in the GNAC probably average between 16 to 18 hours a week. And so that's just a kind of a given. It is a job. It's like having a part-time job. There's no two ways about it. And you have to be organized. The life skills, if a player graduates with good grades from school here and has been fully immersed, they're ready to go out into the business world, out into the professional world, and thrive. If that been overwhelming for them, then maybe they have will have some problems when they get out of school. So my experience is with my most successful student athletes, the ones that have thrived here and really like the challenge are the ones that go out after graduation and do the best.
Yeah.
While I love all of the players that I've coached, there are differences, just as there are differences when you come from a big family and kids do differently when they go off on their own. So I think that you've got to be prepared to take a big bite of the apple and keep taking the big bites. And then savor the small ones as well. But you will have a full plate as a student athlete, and there's just no two ways about it. And if here's the thing, Keith, one of the questions I ask if I have a question about a player and whether they can handle the college experience is, can they? Is that your dog, by the way?
Yeah, my dog, Squeaky Toy. There you go.
I went through this another time at the Blair house.
You're good. Yeah, I know.
So
you must have your own dog. He's been at my lap the entire time.
So the one thing that I'll just finish it this way. If a kid is wanting to come to St. Martin's and play, I ask about how often they miss their club training. And if kids are missing regularly because they have other things going on and they can't figure out how to come to club training, they may have problems in our program meeting the demands. And so that's a kind of a barometer of what the expectation is. I have well-rounded kids that come here, but you've got to be able to. It is a commitment, and that's just the bottom line there.
So Kim, what advice do you give to kids who are about to start their freshman year? Not that we have any that are heading to UPS in the fall, but who knows? Maybe. What advice do you give to make sure they're not overwhelmed, to make the transition as smooth as possible?
What's interesting? I think for a lot of the freshmen, and I noticed this from this side, and then from our girls who were just freshmen the last 2 years, and then seeing kids go into college, is especially at our level, at Division III level, you miss far less school than you ever did in club. So listening to Rob talk about how prepared for school, in college and playing, your schedule sometimes at club and what you've had to do, maybe not this year, obviously, but in years past and missing school is different especially when you get to Whitman or University of Puget Sound. And our conference, the way it's set up and the way Division III is set up in general, is for players not to miss school. COVID's, am I muted? Can you hear me? Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted. I'm handling the dog at the same time.
Okay, I thought you were talking to me, but you're talking to the dog.
Yeah, I've heard every word.
Okay, gotcha. Now I forgot what the question was. Something about, transitioning as freshmen. Anyway, so I think a lot of the students that I've seen come are, they're ready. They're great students that come to UPS already, and they've been playing a lot of soccer. So the soccer part, they're well equipped for when they've come. The transition, I think, is finding that intrinsic motivation for themselves, because, we do have periods and breaks where we're not even allowed to talk to the students. And, we have in every division has a certain number of days that they're allowed to train, certain periods of time where we as coaches can't work with them, but they can play on a summer league team with maybe 5 other players from school, but not with a whole bunch, or they have a month-long winter break and they got to work out and do all that. Where at club, you've had a lot of opportunities with your team or with your club. And when you get to college as a freshman, regardless of division, you kind of have this soul reckoning of, do I really want to play, and do I enjoy this, and is this fun? I think talks about how at the end of the day how fun it's going to be. I think you hear that from a lot of players that enjoy playing and do well at any level. So I think that's a transition, if I want to be honest, is seeing our kids do great academically. They've had that rigor and practice and soccer wise. I think that's gone all right, and we create a competitive culture and all of that, which is fun. But it's really, why do you want to play, and what's your purpose in that? And it might look different for everybody, but that's, I think, a big transition for a lot of them.
Yeah. Those are good points. Michelle, I'm kind of thinking of, one of our players who's sitting at home, and you're about to call. Okay, you're about to call and have a conversation with this player, maybe for the first time. If you can't do it in person, so a lot of it's done via phone or Zoom calls or whatever right now. What kind of things should a player expect you to ask them? Just so they're prepared and they're ready to have a good conversation with you about possibly joining your program?
Yeah, well, first of all, I hope that I'm expecting that the player took some time to look at the program, look at the school, look at the website, and has some questions about the school, the programs, the community, and is prepared there, and I think that's a real important piece. We want to recruit players that are interested in our program and be able to answer those questions. So I think that is important. And then just be able to talk about yourself, really talk about what your strengths are as a player, what your weaknesses or your areas that you want to really improve on as a player, but really feel comfortable and explain, what do you do as a player? If I'm watching you, what are your strengths? What position are you in, and what do you do well there? And really share and be open about that. And then be willing to talk about the other things that you do. We'll talk about, what activities do you do outside of soccer? We'll talk about where you live, what's your family, do you have siblings? Especially, a lot of the things that we're doing are being at home, and, how are you handling COVID? So it's really important to not only know you as a soccer player, but also to get a feel for you as a person. Understand what makes you tick, what are your interests, and particularly with D3, the way the model's set up is that, when we get into the fall, it's like our soccer and school, so it's pretty much like everywhere else, but it's the off season where it gets a little different. It's the off season where you have 2.5 months where we're not training you as coaches. You're on your own with your team. You set up your own practices and do your own thing. And then we have a smaller spring season before you head off into summer. So it's really important for me as a coach to be able to support my players outside of soccer and the other things that they want to do at Whitman. I mean, that's what it's about, especially at D3, those opportunities. That's what the whole model is set up for. So I want to know a little bit more about you as a person, and a player. And please, again, sell yourself, be honest, but talk about what you do well. Don't leave stuff out. We want to hear, I want you to feel comfortable and confident, and be open and vulnerable about how you're developing and how you're doing out there on the field.
Okay. I don't want to keep you guys much longer because we're already 5 minutes past what I said I would hold you to. Ozzy, maybe last question for you, and then this is your last chance to get a question in chat or that Q&A function. I think we're covering most everything. I think some kids, probably think that they've got to be the best player on the A team in a really big club to go play college soccer. I haven't gotten an email from a college coach, and I'm a junior. nobody has walked up to me on my way from field 14 to the car and said, "Hey, I think you're the best player I've ever seen. I want you to become an All-American for me." Can you kind of just let them know that those things don't necessarily happen every day, and that they can make it happen even from a smaller club or the middle of a roster that isn't winning state championships?
Yeah, thanks for asking. And first of all, no, it doesn't. The thing is, what matters is that what the player's goal is. So the way that I approach is that I advise the players in here to look for their environment. What environment will make you happy, and make that connect is very, very important. There is a place for any player who works hard, who has high standards, who can step up to that level, who can be organized, like we mentioned, with their schedules, and then to be ready to step up that level. So believe it or not, it's like yes, we're different spectrum of colleges, and then to me, the way that I see is that when I talk to a recruit, I want to identify what's the how the cultures fit her or his attributes as a player is going to fit our culture. So
Mm-hmm.
if that player has high standards, if he or she is responsible and then ready to go that level, any player can improve and then play on that level as long as he or she works hard. So there's a place for every player in the programs we have in Washington State. Great colleges and then out of state as well. So as long as the goal set for that, and there's a place for everyone.
Okay, great. We got a couple questions. I'm gonna let you guys go. Maybe I'll ask Michelle this because I know she coached Division I at Oregon State. There's a question from Jake about what about the options at Division I? We currently have D2 and D3 and junior college coaches on this call. We don't have a Division I coach with us, but you have experience. Realistically, what's that commitment like? How difficult is it to find a spot on a D1 school, and do you have to be offered the full ride your sophomore year to make it happen?
Yeah, so it's very challenging. Obviously, like everyone's shooting, majority of players are shooting for the Division I experience. There are a lot of different programs. You've got like the Pac-12, you've got the WCC. You do have a lot of programs that are out there, but you've got to be very proactive and starting early to get contact with Division I coaches. They're recruiting younger. Obviously, in COVID, things are changed. It's completely, they've been on hold. So for the 2021 class, it's more, been extremely challenging for the programs, just as well as the players to find spots. But a lot of those schools already had their rosters full. And so, they're looking at younger players, 23 graduates, 22 graduates. The biggest thing is to look at, one, get in contact with coaches, be in contact with coaches, and you really need to have those conversations with your club coach. You need to sit down with your club coach and say, hey, coach, like, what are your relationships with coaches out there? Where do you think I'm really fitting in? And then get that contact going to ID camps. When we get a chance, once we get to the place where we're able to do ID camps, you better be on on those schools. If you're interested in D1 programs, you need to be on it, contacting them, keep that, the emails going, but you need to go to those ID camps. So they know you, they're ready to see you. And I mean, that's going to be a massive tool for coaches. So that's definitely for Division I. I think for any level, like where ID camps will be the next big thing. But for Division I specifically, you've got to get yourself in front of those coaches, not just, emailing and sending film. You got to go to the camps. You got to get there, be there a lot, get your club coach to advocate for you and have realistic conversations so you can find out, right? You can find out where you fit. So, it's important to work that from a lot of different angles. And, sometimes it might not be that the coach the coach could like you. They just don't have the spot. And when it comes to the money, here's the thing. You've only got, it's not like there's everybody gets a full ride. Women's soccer has 14 full rides and men's soccer has, I want to say 9.5. And so you've got a squad of 25 players, let's say, and you have that much money. So, there's a difference between in-state versus out-of-state. That's, if you're going to a school that's in-state, maybe they can get you tuition. That's going to make a big difference for you. Plus, you could get, academically come up with some money to get you there. If you're an in-state person, maybe you get a recruited walk-on spot and they say, okay, if you do well in 2 years playing for me, then in your junior year and your senior year, I'll have some, potentially some money for you. But there are very, very, very few players that get a full ride. I've only known at Oregon State pretty much only some international players. There was like a handful of players that had a full ride. Most players get a little piece here and there. And coaches do work hard to balance out and use whatever tools they can to get you some funding. But your grades are going to help you a lot. And with those, you can qualify for some academic money. Anytime you qualify for academic money, coaches are appreciating that as well. So don't expect a lot of money your freshman or sophomore year. A lot of times it's like, come in and we'll get you some funding if you do well in your junior and senior year. Oh, can't hear you, Keith. You got you're muted.
Michelle's saving my butt. Last questions for Kim. Just one in the Q&A function here. I think it's a good one because I did. It happened to me when I got to college. How often do players change their position when they join a program? We're all attacking mids until we get to UPS, and then what happens?
We like to make our keepers forwards here. That's probably one of the only positions that's not gonna change very often. Some specialist type positions aren't probably gonna change. I think if you're a spine player, like a center back, a center midfielder, a high nine or center forward type player, you could probably interchange in a couple of those spots and be all right. On most teams, if you're a wide player, a back, or a outside wing forward, you could probably interchange. Division I players often are a group of 11 that were all forwards in high school, or all, or maybe it's you can have defenders, forwards, midfield, whatever. So keeping an open mind about that when you go to college, absolutely. Some of you will stay the same position the whole time. Some of you, it just depends on the year, and your coach may have a certain style they like to play, or your coach maybe has a certain need on a season. So it's hard to tell, but those are conversations that you can know right away. The coach where you want to go play, or the schools that you're looking at, your coach is going to have a pretty good idea of where they see you, or if they're also considering the possibility of moving players around. They'll be pretty honest with you, hopefully, what their intentions are with you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. I don't want to stuff your email boxes any more than they already are in these times, but I'll probably provide your email addresses and your contacts to the players that are on the call so they can reach out, maybe because they liked what they heard, or they would like to ask you another question. But for those that were joining us just a little bit late, we've had Kim Calkins, who was the last person to speak. She's the head coach at the University of Puget Sound for the women. Michelle Voilant, who's the women's head coach at Whitman, which is out in Walla Walla. We had Rob Walker, who's at St. Martin's University down in the Olympia area, Division II men's program, and then Ozzy Urquhart from Edmonds Community College, the men's program. Thank you, guys. You are free to go, and we really appreciate it. You're welcome to stick around. You've heard it all before 100 times.
Thank you very much, Keith. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
You. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, you guys who are still on the call, you players and you parents, I would stick around for another 20 minutes because there's some information that they touched on that I think you need. And you may have heard a couple little bits and pieces, but good reminders. And a couple, there was one question that was asked about what a good video reel is. and I want to help answer that question because I figure I have as good an answer as I think the coaches do with that. So here are some of the questions that we just covered. So that was, perhaps before the call. I do want to let you know specifically they talked about how different things have been with college soccer right now. If you are a junior or a senior, it has impacted you and your recruiting process, no doubt. Doesn't mean you're dead in the water, okay? But let's just give you the facts. I think some of you know, maybe most of you know, that a lot of college programs canceled their seasons this fall. Some were moved to the spring. Others just flat out canceled. It also is going to affect you in this area, and we didn't talk about this with the coaches. Everybody who's currently a college soccer player, this year doesn't count. They get an extra year of eligibility, which, not to scare you, is going to make it even more difficult to find spots over the next year or two because there's kind of a holding pattern with the current roster. The NCAA, with the pandemic, around and still persisting, has encouraged all colleges to stop official and unofficial recruiting visits. So you haven't been on any of those, at least you shouldn't have. But as Michelle mentioned and Kim mentioned, recruiting is not stopped. You can email, okay? They can call you. And Division III is pretty much wide open. Division I, on the other hand, if you were waiting for that knock on your door, they're not allowed to do anything in person through now April 15th of next year. It cannot meet face-to-face with a recruit on campus. Division II programs like the one Rob Walker coaches, they resumed their recruiting in all forms, and they are allowing recruit prospects on campus. Now, if a campus is closed, it's tricky. I've got my own son who's kind of had to work around that a little bit. He's a senior in high school. Division III programs, no real recruiting rules for them. So anything goes at the moment with Division III, and that's why you should reach out. We're not completely paused in any of this, especially if you're a junior or senior. Okay, quick reminders, guys. I'll go through these fast because I don't want to keep you much longer than 9:30. That's when we're going to end this. Just, in your mind, do a little checklist, okay? If you're a freshman, concern yourself far more with grades than catching the attention of a college coach, okay? Plain and simple. You should create a top 20 list, and I would like you to show it to your coach. So if you've got me as a coach, if you've got Derek Sharp, if you've got Peter Hattrip, if you've got Ray Johnson, if you're a freshman, bring your list of 20 schools to your coach and make sure that they include schools from all levels. You can go ahead and email schools and coaches anytime you play in a tournament. Hopefully we'll do that in the next 10 years. And yes, somebody asked me this question this year. Did I go on and fill out that prospective recruit form on their website? Absolutely. Gets you at least enough, if nothing else, in their mail system, and you get information about the ID camps. But not a lot of people are gonna reply to your inquiries just because of guidelines or you're so young. Okay, and college ID camps are important, as Michelle mentioned, especially now. And I've got a little bit more on that in a second. Sophomores. Make your top 20 list a top 15 list. Maybe have your coach help you pair that list. More research will help you do that. Keep emailing schools. Again, you probably won't get a lot of replies your sophomore year. Now maybe 2 or 3 ID camps. Now they can be schools I think you're interested in for sure, but they shouldn't just be University of Washington and Stanford. Okay, not being realistic, quite frankly, and not broadening your horizons either. This is when you start compiling some video highlights, guys. And I know you can't do anything right now, but record yourself doing step overs or playing 4v4 with your team. But when we get back to normal, you're going to want a video. And yes, there are ways to actually get a video done. As Rob said, he wouldn't mind looking at an 8v8 video from your training session. Not normally, but he wouldn't mind right now. Junior, right now we're thinking about 10 schools, okay? Keep emailing. And now you should start to hear a little bit back from some coaches. Not every time. And again, the more you contact, the more luck you'll have there. This is where you really, by your junior year, should have a video of yourself playing soccer. As you know, it's a big tool, especially for coaches that can't see you play in person. probably once you get that video made, you should get out to those top 10 schools via email. I wouldn't do text, quite frankly. I would write emails. I think coaches prefer that at the moment. And then your senior year, it gets busy. Okay. Start the college application process, obviously. Maybe you've got 5 schools that are on your short list now. Attend 1 or 2 more ID camps, really starting to narrow your focus. I'm going to this ID camp because this coach has already talked to me and invited me, that kind of thing. Update your highlight video. I will tell you personally that a couple of coaches have told my son, hey, we need a new video of you. The last video we have is from 9 months ago. Well, I haven't played a match in 9 months, coach. And that's just the reality right now. But you want to try to update it so that, let's say the video is generally within 6 months of the current day, I think would be good. At least some of the highlights. And now communication with any college coach in any form is allowed. So you can call, you can text, again, be proactive. And this is stuff we'll continually remind you of, okay? In the bottom right here, there is an annual checklist. This is all in written form, and it's on our college placement program page on our website. And I will show that to you in a minute, okay? I am going to, and I think these will not have audio, and I don't know how they'll look on the webinar because it gets a little glitchy sometimes with video. But yes, the one on the left is somebody related to me. The one on the right is a girl I recently coached. Highlight videos of yourself playing in multiple matches is the best way to showcase yourself to the coach if they have not seen you play in person. Quality's better than quantity. So don't be sending a link of a 60-minute match from field level in the rain at night to a coach and saying, here's me playing soccer. That's not what we mean. What we mean are clipped highlights. You can see some arrows and some circles and stuff. Some of you have the ability to do this. Some of you know people who are very good at doing this. You can also pay a lot of money to have these done. I'm excited to announce, and I hope you understand why I'm doing it, but I'm excited to announce that I would like to, as the ADOC of the club, offer my services to you. I've made, 30 highlight videos over the years. My other career has been in broadcasting, so I've got a few tools, fortunately. But before I do that, this, again, is a free service for you that's been put on the Valor page, the college placement program page. Just tips on what should be on a video and what shouldn't, how long it should be, what moments of the match will catch the attention of a coach. What angle does the video need to be from? Quite frankly, anything that's from field level, it's got to be pretty obvious what's going on and who you are. The best stuff is from the top of the bleachers or some of these elevated areas. Okay, but excited to announce this. And, some of you might go, oh, this is just Keith trying to get a side business going. I already have this business going. I want to do it at a reduced rate for Valor players. So I'm going to offer my services to you. Most, you can go ahead and do your homework. Most usually charge between $200 and maybe more than $400 to get a nice video done. Any Valor player is interested. I'm going to offer a rate of $150. I will make you a really nice video. I care far more about getting players to the next level so that they can, number one, graduate from college and have a degree, but number two, maximize their potential than I am about winning current matches with my Go6 team. Those are just the realities. And I've got the ability to make a video, I think, that will make you look good. So just contact me if you have any interest in that. Okay. College ID camps. I looked around for you guys today. I got bad news. There aren't any. Nearly all ID camps in the Pacific Northwest and on the West Coast this year were canceled. Maybe you were signed up for a couple. Very few are currently scheduled, but make sure that you keep checking back with those schools that are on your radar, because as the restrictions loosen, there will be opportunities. Exact Sports is probably the only one that's really ambitious in the moment. And obviously they're going to places where there aren't quite as many restrictions, but these are multi-school camps, meaning that you will be watched by more than one coach, but it may not be the college that you're considering. So it's kind of I don't want to call it a meat market, but it's got a little bit of that to it, if I'm being candid. However, they are very valuable, and there are some coming up in Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Denver over the next 2 months. So go ahead and look that up if you would like. I'm going to make this slideshow available to everyone on our webpage, and it has direct hyperlinks, as you can see with a little hand there, to that webpage if you have a hard time finding it. Okay? So let's take a look at the college placement program page for a moment. You go to resources, college placement. Okay. And this is where obviously we have the information about the webinar that we're taking part in right now. It also has our wall of fame that is slowly growing. Are you going to be the next one? We had 4 players that moved on to college soccer after 1 year of Valor's existence, which I think is pretty darn good. We'd like to double that number this year. But there's a little bit of information about the video service. And then this is the most important stuff. Here's the annual checklist. Boom. Here's the highlight video tips. Boom. You like the sound effects? Here's an example of the email that you send to a coach ahead of a tournament when those come back next year. Letter of reference from a coach. You should be asking your coach, Ray Johnson, Derek Sharp, Chris Barney, Peter Hattrip, Erickson, whoever, to maybe write a letter of recommendation for you. Be sure you ask at the right time. Do not ask the second day that you have that coach because they don't know you yet. And this is where we'll also add the webinar slides. There are some helpful links in here for you too. ID camp links from NCSA. I'm not sure how